views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mission BX. I'm your host, Eileen Newman, and Mission BX is a collaboration between BronxNet and the Center for Bronx Nonprofits at Hostos Community College. We're dedicated to showing you the wonderful work being done by nonprofits here in the Bronx. And today, we're going to be visiting Bronx Documentary Center and speaking with the executive director, Michael Kamber. So come with us and see a very special place. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mission BX, the show that takes you behind the scenes at looking at nonprofits throughout the Bronx. And today, we're going to be visiting Michael Kamber at Bronx Documentary Center. Actually, we went to visit Michael a while ago. For some of you who have been watching this show, you'll see Michael in the same space that you've seen him before, but what he's doing now is a bit different and very, very wonderful in terms of helping the community in the Bronx. So hi, Michael, and thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So Bronx Documentary Center is an amazing place. And could you just do a little overview of what you do when you're not in the midst of what we're all in the midst of now?
Sure. Well, we have two large gallery spaces across the street from each other. So we show photography from around the world. And also locally, we do exhibitions, a lot of local Bronx photographers, but work from everywhere, from a lot of stuff from Latin America. We have a big Latin American photo festival every summer. And then our main thing is education. So we have about 100 students in after school and summer programs here between the ages of 11 and 18. We have a lot of adult students and we have a big senior program. So our youngest student is 11 and our oldest student is about 90 actually.
Wow. So you're all working remotely now, I would assume, except you're in the space. Are you working out of the space or?
I'm working out of the space, yeah, because we're distributing some things from the space. So I'm here for that.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about how you decided what you were going to change and do? Because if you sent me a list yesterday of everything you're doing, and it's amazing and incredibly impressive.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, our team is, here a lot. They're out on the street. I'm out on the street. So, we're hearing from students, we're hearing from family members, and we're trying to respond to what people need. I mean, we can't, as an arts organization, we can't simply say, we're going to close the door for 2 months or 6 months and just wait for this to end. We're like, I think all Bronx arts organizations, we're very community focused. And so what does the community need and how can we respond to that? I think that's really dictated it.
So can you sort of do a little overview of some of the things that you are doing? Because I was amazed, but not because I know you and I know what you do, but at the spectrum of everything from doing the artwork, but doing real helping with basic needs community work.
Right. Well, the first thing we did is we began talking to all the families that are here, that their kids are here or the seniors, and what is it that they need. So we found that some people had been laid off from work, were having trouble buying groceries, having trouble finding cleaning supplies, things like that. So we began to do shopping runs, and actually just this minute one of our volunteers pulled away. He takes his car and goes around and delivers to the people in our program. We made sure all of our students had working laptops, helped them, getting access to Wi-Fi. So we're still doing all of our classes and such online as much as possible. That's been a huge challenge, particularly with the seniors, because a lot of the seniors are not connected and don't have Wi-Fi or internet access. So we're working with DreamYard and some other organizations trying to solve that issue so that we can continue with the senior programs. One of the main things we found is people just don't have a lot of good information, especially as this was ramping up. We were talking to a lot of people in the neighborhood. Many people, English is not their first language, and they had heard rumors about it, but they just didn't have any real information on how to protect themselves. So that's something that we've been focused on is getting people the information they need to be safe.
Right. And you have can you describe what you have in the window that gives people? I thought that was such a simple but wonderful, effective idea.
We've been posting, flyers up in the window for quite some time now, just explain to people how to keep safe and how to stop transmission. We've got a huge television screen up with a slideshow showing safety information, links to food aid, links to help if you need help on anything from your immigration status to in Wi-Fi connectivity, things like that. So we've got that up there, and that's hopefully helping to inform some people. And we've got a big website opening up next week that is specifically geared towards this. And so I think that'll be up next Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's full of resources and information and tips on how to keep safe and how to get resources at this time.
So, Michael, when that goes up, will you make sure that you send the link to me? Because one of the things that we've been doing at the Bronx Documentary Center, and you're probably getting it, is sending any information like that. We're just saying, if we hear about funders, if we hear any kind of thing that can help people.
Yeah.
But I'm so interested in how you've seamlessly moved into this more community-driven work. Was that something when you thought about this Bronx Documentary Center that you assumed would happen as a result of the artwork and the community artwork, or is it something that it's just because it's who you are?
I think that we're doing a lot of things that I never dreamed of, that we would do. I mean, one of our big focuses now is college access and getting kids into college and making sure they have financial aid. These were the types of things that when we opened, we didn't anticipate, we didn't realize there would be such a need for. But I think that's really what it is when you see, I think our first year, all of our seniors, we had, 5 or 6 seniors, and we realized none of them were going to college. So we said, well, why aren't you going to college? And they said, well, nobody in my high school has really talked to me about it or focused on it. So, we immediately started a big sort of college success program. Same thing with this, I go out on the street. I assume that New York City would have a big public health campaign about coronavirus, but I don't see it. Nobody has talked to me about it. I don't know anybody who's seen anybody from the city. So, people are getting snippets of information from rumors, from, all kinds of different places. So, you see the need and you try to step forward as best you can because you have the resources to do it, So, I mean, we're trying to think of ourselves. When we originally started, we thought of ourselves as a photography organization. And now we're thinking of ourselves much more as an information organization and as a community organization, because that's where the need is. And of course, our heart is always in photography, and that's always the jumping off point. But, the Bronx is a complex place. I always say we're 5 subway stops from, the wealthiest city in the world. I mean, there's all kinds of resources, very, very close. But if you don't know and nobody's connecting you to those resources, you might as well be in, Wisconsin or something.
Right. And what about the exhibits? I know that you had talked about having the exhibits online, and so what are the things so the audience can know what to look for?
Yeah. We have a big. We've been doing a year-long series of exhibitions called the Trump Revolution. You know, in my lifetime, I've never seen the country go through such extraordinary changes as since Trump took office. And that's whether you're a Democrat or Republican, liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. I mean, the changes are just astonishing. So we've been examining a number of different issues. And right now, actually, I think behind me, you can see our exhibition. It's a 5-part series. This one is on immigration. And next weekend, I think next Friday or Saturday, we'll open our second Trump exhibition, and that's going to be on climate change and the environment. And there are 5 photographers, you know, wonderful, wonderful photographers doing work all over the world who are participating in that exhibition. And then we'll have 3 more as the year goes on. Of course, the future exhibitions, at least for now, will be online. So we'll sort of have online openings and a really interesting online gallery and website that's very, very cool and very interactive.
So what's happening to a lot of the students who, when last time we visited, the students were amazingly impressive in terms of what they had done and the kind of work they were doing and who they were working with. How are they all now? How are they doing, especially the students who this is maybe their last year and they've been virtual? And,
yeah.
You know, what I'm gonna do is because I'm realizing that I have to take a little break.
Sure.
So let's take a break and let's show the film that you made about NYCHA, which I find amazing in terms of information and just so well done. And let's talk about that film and let's talk about what's happening with a lot of the students that you've been working with and what the plans are for the summer and the fall.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
As the coronavirus tears across New York, the New York City Housing Authority, better known as NYCHA, has done almost no outreach about the pandemic, according to residents I spoke to. Over the past weeks, I found many residents with almost no information about the dangerous flu. My name is Mike Kamber. I live in this neighborhood and my family members live in these projects. Volunteers from the Bronx Documentary Center put up flyers in NYCHA lobbies and around the neighborhood to counter the lack of information.
I don't know. I mean, we sent notices and posters to each property.
Okay.
Actually, we sent pretty much the same, I can't remember, it's Department of Health notice. We sent that to the management offices.
Okay.
And asked them to post as many as they had in common areas and the management office.
Most of the few notices that we found were designed to protect NYCHA management, but gave no information for tenants to protect themselves. There is no hand sanitizer here in these crowded lobbies, no alcohol wipes, and no apparent plan for help.
We have 2 vendors cleaning. The senior buildings are being cleaned at the touch points by 1 vendor, and that's 5 times a week. The family sites are touch point cleaning 3 times a week. So we are checking on the vendors. The report back is that they're out there.
Touch point is door handles and elevator knobs, or?
Yeah, it's and so if you're walking in the building, it's your door handles, both sides, obviously.
Yeah.
Mailboxes, and they would do all the surfaces on the mailbox.
Okay.
It might be like if you have the doorknob or the handle to the stairwell, that would be done.
So there's a lot of people using this elevator.
Yeah, I know. It's only one working, this one not working.
Lobbies and elevators are filthy, and residents say cleaning has been cut back in recent days, as thousands touch door handles and elevator buttons.
We've heard from other people that there's been less cleaning lately in the elevator.
I haven't seen them at all.
You haven't seen them cleaning?
or in the hallways. So yeah, I just do what I have to do for like my floor, and I clean and Lysol spray.
With elevators frequently out of service, tenants crowd into the one working elevator. If the coronavirus takes hold here, it will be like a bomb going off.
I don't have an elevator number in front of me, but it's in the billions.
Just to fix it.
And yeah, for NYCHA, one of the things that is so extraordinary is, the governor in the past 2 fiscal years, the state's appropriated $450 million.
Right.
But that's against maybe, billions of dollars in need.
Sure.
No one is kicking it, but you'll get a portion of elevators and a portion of boilers out of that.
You're going to be behind. There's just no way around it. This group of housing projects cuts a wide swath up the middle of the South Bronx. This is the poorest urban congressional district in the United States. Tens of thousands of people are packed together in these dilapidated buildings. Some of the 500,000 New Yorkers who live in New York City Housing Authority buildings.
Have they put anything on your door?
Hell no.
Have they called you?
No.
NYCHA's not giving you any information about the virus.
By the 17th of March, we have done over 900,000 communications when you count the robocalls, the emails, and so forth. So,
I mean, again, as you know, many people there don't have working, sporadic email.
yeah, that's why we did. That's why we also did the calls, and we also the My NYCHA app, which I think since the whole thing has started, we've seen an uptick in people using it. They can get to the website on a phone as well. I mean, I know it looks better on the computer, but they can use the phone to access the website and get COVID information there. There's a box.
Yep.
I think it's on the right-hand side of the website.
Excuse me. How are you?
Many here have no internet service and little access to reliable information. So people repeat rumors or snippets of information.
And you're getting your information from Facebook?
Facebook. A little research I do from Safari.
To make matters worse, residents have some of the worst health indicators in the country: diabetes, asthma, and heart disease. Nearby, Lincoln Hospital is already short of ventilators. Many, especially the young, have not heard about Governor Cuomo's request for social distancing and are congregating in groups.
Well, do you think people know how to protect themselves?
No. Probably. Can't protect themselves. Probably not given the information to take care of it.
In the midst of a calamity, New York's poorest residents are on their own.
Welcome back, everyone. We're with Michael Kamber from Bronx Documentary Center. And before you saw that film, we were talking about the work Michael has been doing here in the Bronx. So I saw that film and was just, there are a lot of different things. I'm sure people have a lot of different reactions to it. Because not and all of them good in terms of you exposing a situation that is deeply disturbing. So tell me how that came about and what made you decide that you wanted to really look into the situation that was going on in NYCHA housing.
Well, I think all of us, of course, were increasingly concerned as we saw the pandemic coming and seeing how many deaths are happening around the world. It began, the first cases hit in the United States. We knew it was coming to New York. Everybody was in full emergency mode. And I live across the street from NYCHA. I have students in NYCHA. I have family members in NYCHA. And I go in there and it's like an information blackout zone, there's nothing from NYCHA to reach out to the people. The tenants that I'm talking to haven't heard from NYCHA. They don't know how to protect themselves. There's no hand sanitizer stations. There's nobody cleaning the elevators. These are basic things. I mean, you don't need to be an industrial engineer or a bioethicist to do this. You've got dozens and dozens or hundreds of people using an elevator. It needs to be cleaned, and desanitized. People need basic information, very simple stuff. And I went from building to building to building, and nobody was getting any information about this. So it just seemed to me, really like a life-threatening situation. So, I think the best journalism is the reason journalism is so important is that we can shine a light on things, and we can, let people know. And, especially, as we all know, the Bronx is sometimes very neglected. NYCHA's incredibly neglected. You've got 100,000 people in the Bronx living in NYCHA housing. I mean, that's the population of larger than some cities in the United States. And I've been working in NYCHA for 10 years now, and the lack of resources, the lack of focus is amazing. So you have a concentrated population. You can reach those people. You can do something. You can protect those people, partly because they are so concentrated, and they are in one place. But I didn't see it happening, so that's why we did that video.
Well, thank you. It's real. It was incredible that the scene of people waiting for the one elevator that hasn't been cleaned for 20 years. Or you can assume that. If you go to visit NYCHA housing once, you're going to have that experience.
Exactly.
Your experience. You will have that experience. So
yeah. And my goddaughter sometimes has to walk up 14 flights of stairs, which is terrible in the best of times. But today, to not have working elevators, that's a death sentence. I mean, people can die from that.
And people are really also held prisoner in their apartments because they can't get out. So
exactly. And there's this false idea that New York is providing everybody with internet so that they can connect, but it's not true at all.
No.
We're finding our seniors in particular completely disconnected. They have no way to request stuff. We've had one woman that we're taking food to. She had not eaten for 3 days, when she got in touch with us. So, there's real disparities in this city.
And it's so important that you made, I would love to do a whole show, another show to talk about all of that. But I also want to get back to the students who you were working with and how they are now.
Yeah. Well, of course it varies, but I think, as you can imagine, a lot of them are cooped up in small apartments with, 5-6 people. A lot of our students have been sick with COVID. A number of them have been sick. Their families have been sick. So they've been suffering, and we've got students who've been inside for 6 weeks, and they're kind of climbing the walls. To be honest, I think some of them are a little despondent. Every day is the same, and you get up and you stare at your computer screen for 6 or 8 hours and take your classes, and many of the classes are just pre-recorded, so you're not even talking to a teacher. So I think they're going a little stir crazy. I think it's been very, very tough emotionally and psychologically for a lot of our students. But they are tough and resilient, and they're doing some amazing stuff despite it. But it's a rough situation. And now we're hearing that summer youth employment has been canceled.
Totally cut.
So a lot of them don't even have anything to look forward to in July and August, which is tragic.
Yeah.
So to take a kid who's 16, 17, 18 and say, you're going to spend the next 4 to 6 months indoors doing nothing. I mean,
it's a nightmare. It's a complete nightmare.
Terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible.
But you had talked to us about a young woman who made a series of photographs, and so can you tell us about that, because we're actually going to include that in this, so people meet her.
Yeah, one of our best students is Anna Carmona, wonderful young woman. She's 18, and again, she lives in a small apartment. Her parents are not documented, and they work selling food and out on the street, sort of as part of the informal economy. So they have not been able to work. The construction sites, the places they sell food, are closed down. So they've been home. They've been in a really tough situation financially and every other way. And but in the midst of this whole crisis, she was accepted to Cornell University, which is one of the best. It's like Harvard, and offered a lot of financial aid. So she had some tough decisions to make, some very tough decisions. But in the midst of this whole thing, she documented her situation and her parents and how they're surviving in this little apartment. But she also documented the hope for her future and her decision to attend Cornell, to accept that offer from them. So it's a very beautiful, emotional story. Yeah. So there's some wonderful things happening.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you told us about it, so we could make sure that other people get to hear and see her story. But I have to say a big thank you, Michael. You're doing amazing stuff, and it's so appreciated by the community. I saw when I was there last time, there's just a lot of love on the part of those families for what BBC is doing. So, and thank you so much for spending this time. I'm afraid we don't have any more time left, but it was great to see you, and take care of yourself. How are you?
Good. I'm great. I've got a garden across the street. I'm doing fantastic.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come and visit the garden when we can get out. So
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. My pleasure. All right.
Thanks so much for being with us while we visited with Michael at Bronx Documentary Center. Make sure, if you haven't seen all of the show, that you go to bronxnet.tv and see the rest of it. And please tell your friends about it. And we will be back once again with another show about nonprofits here in the Bronx.